Throughout the history of Istanbul, Taksim has been famous for its nightlife, but the southern half of Taksim, once Pera, found a more respectable purpose as the Ottomans' diplomatic district, where intrigue shaped one of Istanbul's most interesting neighborhoods and with it world history. Constantinople's largely European enclave of Galata was the center of the city's trade and diplomacy for 1,000 years. In earlier times, the Byzantine name for Galata had been Sike, meaning fig trees in Greek. By the 1500s, overcrowding forced inhabitants to settle the rural area up the hill, called Peran en Sikes, or beyond the fig trees, which soon got shortened to just Pera. This video covers southern Taksim, which many locals still call Pera, while northern Taksim and Taksim Square are both covered in separate videos. At the time, the only two buildings here were the Galip Dede Dervish Monastery, covered in our Galata video, and Galatasaray High School, covered in our North Taksim video. The ridge between them became the Grand Rue de Pera, which was soon lined with shops and mansions for the city's elites. With them came money, power, and politics. Venice and France opened their embassies here in the late 1500s, turning Pera into the Ottomans' new diplomatic district. The first Venetian ambassador in Pera, and future Doge of Venice, was Andrea Gritti. Locals called his son Beyoğlu, or Son of the Lord, which somehow became a nickname for the local neighborhood. And the whole municipality was renamed Beyoğlu 5 centuries later in 1925. Taksim's embassies took on a new importance after the 1600s, when Ottoman expansionism was over and the sultans entered the murky world of European alliances and geopolitics. The Ottomans signed a series of capitulations to European powers, handing over commercial privileges and religious protections, boosting Pera's international appeal and transforming Taksim into one of the world's most important centers of diplomacy and intrigue. Competition for regional influence between France and Russia boiled over into the Crimean War in 1853, when Galata became a military base for the Ottomans' British and French allies. Modern military infrastructure gave Pera wider streets, electrification, and the world's second ever railway. And to manage all this, the empire's first municipality building was built in 1860, giving the surrounding district the name Shishane, or House of the 6th District. The Russians were defeated, relations with Europe were great, and at the center of it all, Pera entered a golden age. Tourists started arriving. Theaters, circuses, hotels, and cinemas opened along Grand Rue de Pera, just in time to burn down in the Great Fire of Pera in 1870. As part of the reconstruction effort, the Orient Express Company built Pera Palace Hotel in 1892, 7 years before the first direct train between Paris and Istanbul. After World War I, the British and French returned, this time as occupiers. The whole northern half of Istanbul was administered from the British Embassy until 1923, when Taksim regular Kemal Atatürk defeated the European occupiers, founded the Turkish Republic, and renamed Grand Rue de Pera Istiklal Caddesi, or Independence Street. Atatürk moved the capital to Ankara, taking with it Taksim's embassies, while their former buildings became cultural centers and consulates. From the 1950s, Taksim became the center of one of the world's biggest movie industries, the nightlife capital of Turkey, and the staging ground for any demonstration that has happened since, as covered in our Taksim Square video. But Pera's spirit and historical buildings have survived, while nostalgia for Pera's golden age has surged in Turkish TV shows and movies, bringing South Taksim's sites the attention they deserve. The street beside Galatasaray High School is Boğazkesen Caddesi, along which the Ottoman fleet was dragged during the siege of Constantinople. See our Cihangir video for more. The street opposite leads to the British consulate, built in 1851 in the lead-up to the Crimean War. This became the administrative center of the whole northern part of the city during the British occupation after World War I. St. Helena's Chapel was originally a Catholic church built in 1982 and is now the oldest Anglican church in Turkey. Both buildings were bombed by Al-Qaeda in 2003, hence the massive wall. Hazupulu Passage is a peaceful cobblestoned courtyard and the perfect tea break from Istiklal Caddesi. Mısır Apartmanı was built in 1910 by the great-great-grandson of Muhammad Ali Pasha, Albanian Ottoman founder of the last Egyptian royal dynasty. It was once home to many Ottoman Egyptian intellectuals, as well as the poet Akif Ersoy, who wrote the Turkish national anthem. The Church of St. Anthony of Padua is the biggest Catholic church in Turkey, completed in 1912. Behind it, the French Palace, the original French embassy, is today a residence of the French ambassador. Nearby are the former French courthouse and the French post office building, once a Franciscan monastery. The Venetian Palace was the very first foreign embassy this side of Galata. Giacomo Casanova stayed here in 1744, but apparently didn't have any luck with the local ladies. Nearby is the Istanbul Freemasons Lodge and the former residence of composer Franz Liszt, who lived here in 1847 on invitation of Sultan Abdülmecid. On the other side of Istiklal Caddesi, and behind the 300-year-old Surp Yeror Tutyun Armenian church, are some of the city's oldest hotels, including the Büyük Londra Hotel, built in 1891. Ernest Hemingway stayed here while reporting on the British occupation. Nearby, the Pera Palace Hotel has been the subject of novels, movies, and intrigue since it was built in 1892 by the Orient Express Company. Residents have included Kemal Ataturk, Alfred Hitchcock, Franz Joseph, Reza Pahlavi, and Agatha Christie, who wrote Murder on the Orient Express here in 1922. Pera Palace Hotel features the first elevator built in the Ottoman Empire and a museum in Kemal Ataturk's personal suite. The Palazzo Corpi is a Genoese mansion that used to be the US Embassy and later consulate, but has operated as Soho House Istanbul since 2015. The Dutch consulate has stood on Istiklal Caddesi since 1612. The church alongside it used to be a prison before becoming a reformist church. One of its regular visitors was a young Cyril Lucaris, the would-be Martin Luther of the Greek Orthodox Church. As Patriarch of Constantinople, he announced his belief in the basic tenets of Calvinism, which he learned here at the Dutch chapel. He was accused of being a Russian spy and quietly executed for treason in 1639. The Terra Santa Monastery was originally built to house Spanish pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. The Crimean Church was built in 1868 as a memorial to the 23,000 British soldiers who died in the Crimean War. The church fell into disuse and closed down between 1978 and 1991, when Sri Lankan refugees fleeing the Gulf War restored and reopened the Crimean Church, which has since become a center of Istanbul's South Asian Christian community. The Church of St. Mary Draperis represents the oldest Catholic parish in Istanbul. During Ottoman times, churches used to be built on slopes to avoid legal limits on how high their spires could be, hence the stairs. The Swedish consulate is the oldest Swedish consular building in the world, thanks to an alliance between Sweden, the Ottoman Empire, and the Ukrainian Cossacks in the Great Northern War against Peter the Great. See our Great Northern War video for more. Narmanlahan was built in 1831 as the Russian embassy, which outgrew it and moved up the road to its enormous current building in 1880, after which Narmanlahan became a prison, an artist's workshop, an Armenian publishing company, and finally a cool complex of bars, museums, and cafes, opened in 2013. The district of Asmalı Mescit, or Vine Mosque, is named after a local 16th century mosque that was destroyed by the Great Fire of Pera. Thereafter, bars and taverns opened here, turning Asmalı Mescit into one of Istanbul's best nightlife spots. Nearby, the neighborhood of Şişhane is named after Turkey's oldest municipality building. Tunnel Square is named after the Tunnel Funicular Railway, built by French and British engineers following the Crimean War. It was the first underground railway in the Ottoman Empire, the second in the world after the Northern Line in London, and takes 90 seconds to reach Karaköy Square, covered in our Karaköy video. Tunnel Square marks the official end of Istiklal Caddesi and Taksim, and the official beginning of the historical neighborhood of Galata, which is home to Galata Tower, covered in our separate Galata video. For guided tours of this and other parts of Istanbul, check out the free walking tours link in the description. Traditional meyhanes, or taverns, dot Pera and Asmalı Mescit. a national favorite and one of the best restaurants in Taksim is Asmalajavit. RELOCATION is probably the best Georgian restaurant in Taksim. The Michelin-starred Rejans restaurant was founded in the 1920s by white Russian refugees. Elios is an excellent Greek-style tavern with good prices and unbeatable views. For culinary tours of the local foodie scene, see the links in the description. For centuries, Istanbul nightlife has been concentrated in raucous North Taksim, while South Taksim specializes in cocktails and views. Balkon has an excellent terrace, while the rooftop bar of Büyük Londra Hotel and Mikla at the top of Pera Hotel have some of the best views in town. For English-speaking social events, pub quizzes and more, get in touch with our partners Yabanji through the link in the description. Southern Taksim is easily reached by metro to the Shishane metro stop. From here, the tunnel funicular runs from Taksim to Galata and Karaköy. Watch our videos on both these places before heading off. The northern half of Taksim culminates in Taksim Square, both of which are covered in separate videos. Thanks for watching. Have you been to Taksim? If so, please comment and let us know what you think of our video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with our latest content. Links to all other videos, hotels and free walking tours mentioned here are listed in the description, along with relocation services to help new arrivals settle into Istanbul. And while you're here, check out another one of our videos about the history and sights of Turkey. Thanks, and see you next time.